Hey guys, welcome to the Jester build log part 2, the final installment. Before we go into the last little bit of how we finished up with the Jester build, I wanted to talk about the Octominer push lately of a lot of the crypto miners that I've seen out there. For me, building these cases and building your servers by yourself is half the fun of mining. Building something that's stable, building something that you can be proud of, upgrading parts, buying certain fans, different colors, doing all that is part of the fun as a small miner. If you have a huge warehouse and you just want to plug and play, then yes, I understand why people go to Octominer because they don't want to have to deal with, installing the different fans and doing all the cable runs. I get that that's appealing to people who have massive farms, but for the everyday, 4 gigahash or less farmer, I think the pride is building something that you've put together and you've worked on and you've studied and you've researched and you've gotten the parts that you want in order to make this stable mining rig. The thermals of the Octominer are not revolutionary. Ever since 2020, when I started mining, every single one of my rigs has been in a server case because the thermals of a server case are the same. You have the fans in the front, you have a mid plate, which Octominer doesn't have, and you have the fans at the back. So actually, I would go and argue that my Rosewill case here that I have with the Jester build that we just made have better thermals than an Octominer. I would put money on it because the front, mid, and back fans are better than the Octominer fans, and it's in a smaller space, but it's just more efficient. And I built it, so I take a lot of pride in it. But I don't really understand why all of these, I guess it's because they're sponsored, but a lot of the YouTubers are just like praising the thermals of Octominer when in reality, any server case, the reason why there's server cases is because the thermals of a server case go from front to back and it funnels all the air through the components, and that's how it's built. That's why it's a server case. So I understand that Octominer came in and they made it more for mining, but it's no different from buying one of these Rosewill cases that Red Panda Mining gave me. So all these cases, if you put the proper fans in the front, high airflow fans, mid plate and back, and close it up, it'll be the same as the Octominer, but you can take pride in what you built. You can take pride knowing every component in there, and it's not just a plug and play option. It's, a piece of you. So each one of those rigs downstairs, I have five 4U server racks, server cases, and each one of them has its own unique little thing that I take pride in. And I just don't want people to just think that, oh, Octominer is the only way to do it. Go buy a 4U server rack, get the fans, install your own components, and the thermals will be the exact same thing. So anyways, I hope you like Jester Part 2. I finished it up and it looks beautiful and the thermals are incredible. I can't wait to show you the rest. Enjoy.
Okay, and we are back. So since I blew the circuit, I was trying to figure out how was that possible. We were plugged in directly to a 20 amp circuit. I did the calculations on all of these. Let's say there were 3, 6, 9, 12, 1500 amps, and that's 1500 watts, and that would be like that's more than they were. So it'd be less than 1875, and this is a 20 amp circuit, so it's over 2000 watts. I don't think the power supply broke out, and so I looked at the cable in the socket, and in the socket, that's where it kind of blew up, and unfortunately, I didn't even realize that there's different gauge cables, and I needed a 14 gauge cable that can take up 1875 watts. So I have one here. I haven't turned this on since, So let's hope that this turns on. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset. So we're going to plug this back in into the 20 amp circuit. I switched the circuit back on. Let's hope there wasn't a surge. I think I just tripped the circuit, so hopefully this will turn back on. Let's go. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. We've got the thicker gauge cable in. We've got the BIOS. I mean, that is kind of funny. So I just finished saying, let's go. So now. All right, here we go again. Okay, so we're not doing 5. Interesting. I'm not putting in another power supply because it took me forever to get this one in here. So I think I'm just gonna have to remove one of the graphics cards because it's definitely not this, and it's definitely not the circuit. So yeah, that one was a lot louder. Okay, so I said it on my live stream, and I kind of, yeah, I mean, there's definitely something wrong with this power supply because it keeps tripping, and it's not the total power. It's on a 20 amp circuit. It now has a 14 gauge connection directly to the plug. And as soon as it starts ramping up with 5, it ran fine yesterday with 4 cards all night. But with 5, it blows up and it short circuits. So I'm gonna try the thermaltake here because it's just a better company, and see if that handles this. If it blows as well, then we're just not having 5. I would love to have 5 for efficiency. I don't really need 5. I could put 4 in there and then put 2 into another one, but this is for science. So this is going to take a long time to undo everything and install a new power supply. That's really annoying. But I should have gone with a thermaltake from the start. That was just... All right, here we go. All right, so we've got all 5 cards stable running in here. I know it looks like a mess, but here's the temps. They're a little bit shitty because I have to re-thermal pad all of them. Except surprisingly, there's 2 that are actually doing reasonably well. One of them is brand new, so I expect that, but the other one is not, and it's still got pretty good thermals. So we fixed the issue of it crashing. It wasn't the power supply, although I think I'm going to go with the thermaltake power supply in here. The issue with the thermaltake is that it's a little bit longer than this one here, and that prevents us from having 5 cards. Although 5 cards does draw 1400 watts from the wall, not to include the fans and the motherboard. So it could work, but if the overclock settings get reset, then it jumps to quite a bit. So not sure what I'm gonna do. Stay tuned. All right, so we are finally going to repad and clean these GPUs. We're gonna have to take everything off of these. You can see the rust
there, and the corrosion and the stuff in between the fins. These were in Barbados, so the salt in the air really got to the coolers. Now that rust isn't actually doing too much. It's the temperatures are not good. We're gonna replace all the thermal pads, except obviously I'm gonna wanna clean off all of that rust as well. So I'm probably not going to film every single one of these because it's so tedious. So I'm just gonna start to film as I pick up, you know, midway through doing one of them. Okay, so we've got the first one off, and the situation is pretty dire. This is where the thermal pad is supposed to be connecting. That's one of them. Oh my gosh, it's just mush. This is just solid, and this is just, oh, it's just mush. Look at the oil. But all in all, actually, it doesn't look terrible considering the look of the actual, you know, I mean, look at this. This is rusted out. So I'm debating on taking, I'm debating on taking the fans off of this and cleaning this. Don't know how much that'll actually matter. But we'll see how long this takes me to do. All right, so this is what we're gonna have to do. This will have to make do. We can peel back the fan, as, I mean, it's pretty tight there, but we can peel back the fan and we can kind of like get some, I have a brush that I can kind of scrape off the stuff in between here. As you can see, it's just caked on salt. We're not gonna be able to do anything about the rust, I don't think. I think that's just, I can try and wipe it off a little bit, but that, whatever. I mean, there's only so much I can do here because I cannot take this shroud off because these two screws will not come out. They're stripped, and I even tried it on another one, and it's not gonna happen. So I think I'm gonna take the fans out, clean as much as I can in between, maybe try and scrape off the rust, and then blow it out and see how that works. All right, wish me luck. All right, so here's just a quick example. I'm able to get rid of all the gunk. So you see this, how there's just gunk charred all on the fins? I'm able to scrape all of that off with the brush. So that's the before and this is the after. So that's at least something. I can get rid of this, all that junk there. Things are literally taking forever. The first one took me like 4 hours because it just wasn't, the pad sizing wasn't right, and then the thermals. Anyways, I just wanted to show you, this is my second card. I just scraped off some of the stuff. Look at all the stuff I scraped off. That's just salt. That's just one card. Wow. All right, just another picture of, as soon as I open up one of these things, how they look like inside, and all of that is salt. So I'm able to scrape that off, which is good, but I can't do anything about the rust. The rust is there. I would be able to do something about the rust, but can't take the shroud off.
It is finally done. 5 3080s in a Rosewill case. So again, we've got the three Noctua fans that we put installed here. We move the bracket back so that we can actually have more room across. All of them are cable managed and evenly spaced. We've got 4 80mm fans here. They're pumping air right through. We've got 4 80mm fans in the back that we're using with that. So that is a fan hub that's connecting all these fans that are going at 100%. We've got all 5 cables connected directly into here. Then we have 2 SSDs. We've got one there with Windows, and this one we just installed with iOS for my first time ever, and this rig is up and going. We're using the thermaltake 2000 watt power supply, and it actually does fit. And here are, oh, let me just turn off the, maybe you can see, here we go. 100.15 on all of them. 85 fan curve, 43 degrees temps. So that is done.